From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Alan.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Keith Alan and proudly welcoming you to this Monday's edition of For the People. It is May Day. It's May the 1st, 2017, and if you're like most people that are constantly busy and kind of not watching the clock, maybe you're in retirement, but we say, oh my God, it's already May, a new month, and it's just, to me, it baffles me. I don't know if it's just like I get older, it's like, I'm looking for the Christmas tree already, but a great weekend, and looking forward to calling out our winner today. That's going to be coming up a little bit later on in the program. We can't do it right out of the bat. We got to keep you listening to the program. What program directors used to tell me when I used to work at some of the bigger stations before actually doing a network show. But you got to keep them listening. So, yeah, we're going to do a raffle. And so what that's all about. And actually, if you're not in the raffle just yet, there's still time between now and the time that I announce it. And what the raffle is a news reporter bound book. Now, the news reporter may not mean anything to you, but if you have been a longtime fan of For the People, now the founder, Chuck Harder, he was the one that started it all. A legend in his own right. Tons of articles about Chuck, tons of books later. I mean, the man sold tens of thousands of books. And actually, his book, Will We Ever Learn, is still one of the best sellers. No kidding. On Amazon, it's got like a 5 or 6 star that you can still get, and just look up his name, Chuck Harder. But anyway, he put together this unbelievable newspaper that was very cutting edge, okay, for its time. For 1992 and 93, and I have 2 years worth of these news reporters, and it's kind of fun to look back and see some of these stories because the headlines haven't changed all that much. That's what's so weird. Times changed. Maybe it's 25 years later, 20 years ago, but the headlines, the stories, the problems, the issues, they're still the same. Let's take North Korea. How many administrations do you think have been trying to deal with North Korea since World War II? Quite a number of them. Now, nobody wants a conflict. We've been talking about it. There's escalation. We know that we have our sub out there. We have carriers out there. And that whole peninsula is on edge. The world's on edge. And, whether you're Republican or Democrat, independent, whoever you might be, nobody, I think, wants nuclear fallout. Nobody wants to have devastation in South Korea. And we know that we have lots of troops that are stationed there. A lot of people actually have checked out South Korea for vacation. And here's the tricky thing. We have Americans that are detained in North Korea. Just a heart-wrenching story this morning on Fox and Friends of a family that's trying to get their son back. The guy that's detained in North Korea touched a propaganda poster, touched one, didn't take it, didn't steal it, he touched it. And they locked him up, and he's been doing hard labor for 16 months in North Korea. I mean, breaks your heart. Young guy. His parents says that he grew up really loving other cultures and like seeing other things, and he was there exploring and getting to know the terrain, so to speak, and he did something really bad, and they showed a video this morning that just absolutely broke your heart. This guy was crying, emotional, and the parents said, we try not to watch this piece too many times because That's not our son. And my heart just sunk when I heard that piece. I thought to myself, wow, no parent would want to see their kid in that condition. And hard labor is hard labor. And the same morning, I am listening to things like China. This is just sad things that happen in these dictatorial countries. But in China, there was somebody that was spending some hard prison time doing hard labor because they do sweatshops over in China, in case you didn't know. And if you buy a bag in China, maybe you found a note with somebody asking for help because they're making these workers make bags, handbags for women, okay, at Walmart or Target, and 15, 20 hours a day. I mean, they barely sleep. We're talking really hard labor. That's the government of China for you. This is what they do to people. They're sweat camps. How do you think that they make their money? It's not a free and open society by any means. But this prisoner wrote a note, stuffed it into the purse, and this unassuming customer was going through the bag, to take the paper and stuff like that and to ready it so, you could transfer your stuff into the other purse, and finds this heart-wrenching note. Of course, she doesn't read Mandarin, so she got the translation, and this poor person crying out for someone, anyone, to rescue them. But God knows exactly where that is. Whether they'll actually trace that person down, I don't know. But I tell you what, there's a price. There's a price for trade. There's a price for cheap. And as consumers in America, we want things at a good price. We want things at a cheap price. We don't want to pay any more. But do we really think about where that came from? Who made that? And literally, the saying goes, blood, sweat, tears. All of that stuff goes in. Now, whether it's China, even Vietnam, Malaysia, in all of these places, they have those sweatshops. I mean, you've heard about the sneaker stories where you get Adidas and you get Nike, and people are paying $300 for a pair of sneakers. $300. Or how about Nordstrom's? They just announced a pair of pants. And I consider myself, relatively trendy, okay? But mud pants, okay, for $300 or $400 to make it look like you were out in the woods hiking and you fell down like a bunch of times, and you pay $300-$400 for a pair to make it look like you just went out for a workout in the woods and you fell in the mud. But somebody made that. And most of these places are sweatshops. See, this program has always told people to buy American whenever possible. Whenever you can buy it, seek it out, find it, look for it. And the only real person now a politician, like it or not, Donald Trump has been the one that's been saying, we need to start looking at making it over here. We need to make it over here. We can make it. We have the materials. We have the manpower. We have people that need the jobs. But it's just, again, a reminder of back in the early 90s when that big-eared guy named Ross Perot. Now, we have his running mate on frequently, Pat Choate, the acclaimed economist and best-selling author. But they were talking about this stuff decades ago. And a lot of people made fun of Ross Perot, because of his voice. But what's happening now, fast forward to 2017, now it all kind of makes sense. People actually want to hear about it. That makes sense. But you had to have somebody that was plain spoken. It took somebody of a reality show. It took somebody of a kilt of real estate, somebody unconventional, unorthodox completely, to be able to put this message out on social media and for people to finally get it and understand it. And I don't know if everybody gets it. Nope, not everybody gets it. But a fair amount of people do get it, and they do understand it. But you don't hear a lot about the sweatshops. You don't hear a lot about that. You don't hear about China in the way that they treat their people over there. And it's not fair. And we trade with them. And when you talk about human rights, what rights? We do business all over the world where human rights doesn't mean a thing. And what really upsets me is they call Donald Trump a bigot, or any conservative these days a bigot and a racist and a homophobe and all these other things. And yet you get Hillary Clinton and you get a lot of people from the left that cozy up with Saudi Arabia, cozy up with these other countries, and they don't say anything about their behavior, don't say anything about them, but then they want you to be LGBTQ friendly and all these other things, but all these other states or all these other countries are throwing out all this money campaign contributions to the left where they say that's their platform. They say it's their platform is because it's convenient and it's a hot button issue. And they know they can push it, know they can get the money, and that's why Hollywood's so far up you-know-whose butt, the DNC, because they push these one-sided buttons. You know, what's the issue? It's one issue, and that's it. Forget about all the other important things. To me, it's priorities. It all comes down to that. What did UPS used to say? What's your priority? Think about it. Just think about it. It's food for thought. Remember, we try to have a common sense conversation each and every day here on For the People, and we try to do a good job. I am very passionate, obviously, about these particular things, but not enough of us really pay attention or even think about it. But I do remember, and I'm old enough to remember, where you could go into a lot of stores and you would see that made in the USA with the American flag on there, made in the USA. And just to check it out, when you go shopping, look under the item. Look under the item. Now, if you shop at Walmart, 99.99% of the stuff is made in China. 99.99%. If you find an American, if you can find somebody that makes it, there's a company that makes pillows. I mean, there's a lot of American companies, but it's called My Pillow. You've seen those commercials. There's a little cute little jingle. But that's an American story. And there should be a lot more of those particular stories. People investing in American workers. So we don't have this these slave shops making this stuff over there where, it's a shame. And they force these people. This is against their will. They don't want to do it. And then the places that do, they treat them like a piece of meat. Trump, he's going to try to get a little bit more tougher with sanctions. And from we understand right now, with these tensions, it says Trump prepared for the worst sanction bill primed. So we got over the 100-day hump. So I guess they're going to be looking, the mainstream media, for 200 days for something to talk about. But Trump said, according to the Washington Examiner, that he sees Kim Jong-un as very threatening. We have to be prepared to do what we have to do. We cannot allow this to go on, Trump said in a separate interview. Trump declined to rule out military action, and his national security advisor, H.R. McMaster, told Fox Sunday that it's important for all of us to confront this regime. The Trump administration, Congress, and the international community continues to consider multiple options, however, for cooling the tensions with North Korea, not the least of which is Trump's bid to court China to exert pressure on Pyongyang. That would be great if they can get China to do this. China's been in bed with them for a long time. It might pain them just a little bit, but China could come out the hero. They could really do something, but whether Ong is smart enough, if he listens to